Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm here with the Epic Live podcast. We're going to be starting a new mini series today called Spoken Art. Today, we are just so happy to be joined by Mr. Charles Gray, who is showing his brand new gallery in Gallery 2960 called The Identity of Hippiness. And Charles, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hello, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Um, to start off, we just want to know a little bit about you and your artistic process. What inspires you to create?
Um, so I started doing, or I was creative as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I was a creative child, and um, I had a conservative family, so like that creativity only went so far. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in control of my clothes or haircut or anything like that. But for the most part, like I didn't have to play sports. I didn't have to do anything that traditionally for people who only can hear this and not say this, most big black people have to do. Like I didn't play any sports. I didn't like get a warehouse job. I was allowed to be artistic and creative, and um, that just never stopped. So that continued into college, and then in college you gotta kind of make a decision. Are you gonna be a commercial artist? So that's like magazines and logos and like a person that draws well, you go, hey, can you do the logo for my company or commissions and things like that? Or do you do fine art, which is narratively based? So like if you, for example, if you go to the museum, you see a red dot on a white surface and go, oh, I can do that. Well, that could be the first Nigerian immigrant, and he's expressing the story of how he felt when he got here.
Wow.
So I decided to do fine art. Not decided. I felt like the thing that I was supposed to be doing with the stuff I'm making is telling a story. So I chose to do fine art.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Sure.
Uh, Along those lines, like, what is one of your favorite narratives that you tell with your work?
I like talking about growing up, being nurtured by anime.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that's what my mom, grandmother, they support us and gave us things that they saw that we like. So we grew up with Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z and anime, and they would participate. My mother plays Pokemon to
I
this day.
love that. I love
So
that.
those being such strong elements, along with like my grandfather was big into Polaroids and photography. So that being like a vehicle for the things that we sought after to like be happy and to create community within my family, those are the things that I use to make work. And also like this is neither good nor bad, but in fine art, most of the time when it comes to narrative and minorities, academic spaces choose to focus on the traumatic or like the trauma side, not for like malicious purposes, but most education in the gaze of education wants to feel like they're having an impact. So when it comes to like police brutality or slavery or border patrol or things that have had like a violent history with humans, that tends to be the things that are in museums and academic spaces. I I don't want that to go away. I just feel like it's so much of it. There is space to have a more dynamic conversation when it comes to people, especially like black people. So my main focus is being honest about the things that help mold me and shape my character. And hopefully there will be academic spaces that want to add that to what it is they're doing.
I think that's such a great message. And you can definitely see it in the work that's on the show. There's a really heavy pop culture emphasis. Like when I get feedback from guests, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's Dragon Ball Z. I never thought I'd see that in a show." So it's definitely making waves. We love to see it. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I guess that leads us into my next question, which is, what piece of art or artist would you say is a big influence for you?
Um, uh,
I know that's a tough one.
pro- I mean, cause it's like it just changes from time to time.
Sure.
Cause I do a lot of things, but There is a man named, his name is Mister. I don't actually know his name. He's Japanese. I don't know his actual name because I think it's kanji, like letters.
Gotcha.
But like on internet, on Instagram, his name is Mister. But he does similar things. His story is actually a little more violent. I think it
Mm.
involves sexual assault with him
Oh
as a child.
no.
But he uses the animation and anime and cartoons to talk about that and to talk about reality in his neighborhood and how he grew up that surrounded him to help him like deal with that as well. But like he's dealing with a very sophisticated, complicated narrative, and he's using the same visual things that I'm using, but in a very dynamic way. So I watch him just because that's very sensitive, and he's doing it very well. So I look at him a lot. Um, but like I guess more notable people could Google is Cause or KAW or Takashi Murakami.
Oh yeah.
Um, those are probably those are like
Biggest influences.
uh,
I'm definitely gonna have to look those guys up. They sound amazing.
they're interesting.
Of course. So, tell us, since we're talking about these subject matters and about what that means to you, what would you say is the theme or the motif behind Identity of Hippiness? Like, what led you to this show?
Um, I mean, when it comes to happiness, a lot of stuff does revolve around my family, like I said, but the main situation was my brother. So I have multiple brothers, but I grew up with one specifically, and it was the lack of happiness that I felt when he ended up joining the military and having a family and just growing up and leaving, like being an adult. But before that happened, we lived in the same room together for to like our 20s,
Oh,
mid
wow.
20s. So that's a long time to live in the same room with a human and grow up with this human. And when he left and got a family, I really got sad because I missed my brother, and he was a huge source of the things that made me happy because I did them with him, and just going on a personal journey to navigate those emotions. That's kind of what made me look at these different things from when I grew up.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you again so much for sharing that.
Yes, of
You have
course.
this absolutely beautiful piece that's right at the back of the show. It's huge, and I think it just really captures that moment. So it's really cool to see all of that come back. So if you had one piece of advice for budding artists, what would that piece be?
Um, Probably do whatever you want to do until you're genuinely convinced you shouldn't do it. So you're like you're going to obviously grow up being told what you should do and what you should like, and there will be lots of opinions, but as you begin to ingest all of these opinions, there will be actually things that you genuinely like, but you might not feel like you're living in a world or a place that makes you feel safe to fully experience those things. Try to create an atmosphere where you feel comfortable expressing or experiencing the things that you genuinely like, and and it's okay to tell people, places, and things, no, I don't want to participate. I don't want to do that.
Wow, wonderful piece of advice. I think just not just for budding artists, but for life. So, finally, what's next for you in your artistic career?
The next show I have is in January. It's at the South Dallas Cultural Center, and there'll be more things about stuff I like. Uh, Outside of that, I have a studio downtown Fort Worth on 16th and Hugh Street. If you ever feel like you want to come and knock on my window, I will let you in and feed you and stuff. So yeah, outside of that, that's it.
Wonderful, wonderful. We look forward to all the great things coming for you in your career. Everybody, this has been Charles Gray today with his new gallery, The Identity of Hippiness. We appreciate you guys so much for watching another episode of Epic Live Podcast and joining us for the very first episode of Spoken Art. All right, everybody, bye.
Bye.